Have you ever stopped to wonder what's really running the show up there in your head? What's the one master variable that dictates your stability, your identity, even how you perform under pressure? Well, we're about to dive into the single most important property of your mind, and I'm betting it's not what you think.
Your first thought might be emotion, right? How we feel totally dictates how we act. But it turns out that's just a symptom. It's not the root cause at all.
Okay, so what about our deeply held beliefs? The powerful stories we tell ourselves about the world. Nope, that's not the foundational layer either.
Well then, surely it has to be our personality. Those stable, defining traits that make us who we are. But even that isn't the primary variable that's actually governing the whole system.
So wait a minute, if it's not our emotions, not our beliefs, and not our personality, then what on earth is this master variable? What's the real currency that's powering our entire cognitive world?
The answer, it turns out, is a structural property called coherence. And this is so important. It's not a feeling. It's not a mindset. It's an actual architectural feature of your cognitive system.
Okay, so let's get right to the core definition here. Think of coherence as the structural integrity of your mind. It's your system's ability to handle stress, complexity, and pressure, what's called load, without losing its fundamental shape. So if your coherence is high, you're stable. If it's low, you start to fragment.
So what does this actually look like under the hood? Let's take a peek at the internal mechanics of a coherent mind versus an incoherent one. This slide just shows the contrast perfectly. So on the left, you've got a coherent system. It's like a really well-designed power grid, right? Everything's integrated, it's efficient. But then you look to the right at the incoherent system, and it's just a tangled mess of contradictions. It can't handle the load, so all this internal noise just gets amplified, and it distorts the signal. It's the difference between a clean workflow and trying to find a file on a completely chaotic desktop.
And here's a really crucial distinction we have to make. Coherence is not about appearing calm or organized on the surface. Someone can be intensely active. They can even seem chaotic from the outside, but still be totally structurally coherent. And on the flip side, someone can appear perfectly composed while internally they're fragile and just moments away from collapse.
And this quote just nails it. It's not about the outward performance, it's about the underlying structural reality. Coherence is the truth of the system's architecture, period.
So why does all this matter so much? Well, because coherence is what sets the true upper limit of your capabilities. It's why just being talented isn't going to cut it when things get tough. Think of it this way. Capacity, that's your potential. It's all your knowledge, all your skills, but coherence, that's your stability. That's your ability to actually access that potential when you're under stress. Without coherence, your potential is basically irrelevant when it matters most. It's like having a Ferrari engine and a chassis made of popsicle sticks. All that power is useless.
Okay, now this is where things get really mind-bending. This whole concept reframes what identity even is. It's not just a story you tell yourself, it's a stable architectural pattern in your mind. Your identity is literally the shape that your system holds.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road. When the pressure is on, a coherent identity holds its form. But an incoherent one? It warps, it fragments, it produces all this unpredictable behavior. What we often call an identity crisis, that isn't just a psychological story breaking down. It's a structural failure of coherence.
So how does a system actually respond to all this stress? Well, it all comes down to the dynamic between the load you're under and your level of coherence. The big question is, do you bend or do you break?
This progression is absolutely key. With high coherence, you're elastic. You bend under pressure, sure, but you bounce right back to your baseline. With medium coherence, the deformation becomes plastic. That stress permanently changes your shape. And with low coherence, well, you don't even bend. You just break. That's collapse.
And what about that slow, grinding, everyday stress? Chronic load is insidious. It gradually eats away at your coherence over time, making the entire system more and more brittle. This is exactly why a final collapse, like burnout, can feel so sudden and shocking. The truth is, it wasn't one event. It was a long, slow, structural degradation that made that final break pretty much inevitable.
Okay, so let's bring all this home. Coherence isn't just another interesting little variable. It's the foundational currency of your mind. It's the essential resource that allows everything else to function in the first place. Think about it. Clarity, resilience, identity, creativity, all these things you see here depend on that solid foundation of coherence. When we're under a heavy load, these functions don't disappear because we got emotional. They disappear because the underlying architecture can no longer sustain their complexity. Coherence is the gatekeeper to all of it.
So here's the crucial takeaway. Coherence determines whether you are expressing the clear signal of your true architecture, or if you simply become a reflection of your own internal static. It is, without a doubt, the real currency of your mind. Everything else is just downstream.